You ever notice a guy dig his own grave in slow motion and remain shocked when he crashes in? That's exactly what we've been witnessing with Kody Brown these years. A guy who once sat at the center of a plural family, 4 wives, a dozen plus children, and an entire show built around his definition of leadership, now reduced to one loyal wife, broken relations with his kids, and the ashes of a family. He claims to have tried to instead defend. The question is, defend what for? From where we're sitting, it seems like he was the one striking the match every time. Hey guys, I'm Aria, and welcome back to TLC Next Reveal. If you're new here and you're as tired of the gaslighting and double standards as I am, make sure to hit that subscribe button and leave your thoughts in the comments, because we're not just rewatching Sister Wives, we're finally telling the truth that was hidden under years of manipulation, denial, and heavily scripted confessionals. This video is not gonna sugarcoat anything. Every word of what I'm about to tell you comes from the episodes themselves, the real footage, the real breakdowns, and the real reactions. No spin, no fantasy, just the raw unraveling of Kody Brown's tightly controlled kingdom, and how his own actions drove every woman in his life to emotionally detach or physically remove themselves from him. We're going to talk about Meri, the first wife who stayed loyal way beyond the moment of sorrow. Janelle, who kept things level-headed until she realized that Kody only respected her when it was convenient. Christine, who finally said enough after all these years of being pushed to the side. And Robyn, the self-proclaimed favorite, who moved into a house already falling apart, but certainly didn't make the collapse any easier. Kody once spoke of oneness, but what we saw was a man so taken over by control, he had no idea his entire family slipping away from him. During the first few seasons, Kody Brown loved calling himself the spiritual leader of the family, not just a husband, not just a father, but a guide, the man chosen to keep 4 women and all their children in union together, safe and spiritually grounded. That title gave him power without real accountability. It meant he didn't have to legally marry all 4 women, but he could still expect them to treat him like a king. At first, it almost succeeded on the surface. It seemed to be a successful multiple family Meri Janelle, and then Robyn, both with their own homes, children, and agendas. But what gradually became excruciatingly obvious was that Kody's leadership had little to do with harmony and a great deal to do with control. He wasn't a leader because he empowered and encouraged his wives. He dominated by bending rules to his convenience. What one wife had, another one was scolded for he kept expectations in flux, dependent on who owed him the most that week. Meri was the first to feel the wrath of that disparity. She was the first wife, the one who brought the others along. She hung in there through years of emotional abandonment, holding on to hope that Kody would finally see her. Once again, not only as the woman who started everything, but as someone he used to love. But in place of care, she got coldness when the catfishing scandal broke out. It wasn't just a betrayal for Kody, but the reason he had to emotionally tune out completely, and yet still expected Meri to stay, contribute, and smile on camera. No intimacy, no connection, but blind obedience then came for years. She was the glue, the caretaker, the one who made plural marriage appear possible. But she wasn't blind. She saw the habits. She saw Kody getting attracted to Robyn, saw her own children and needs become afterthoughts. Her breaking point came when Kody told her straight out that he was no longer interested in an intimate marriage with her, but still wanted her to stay. He wanted her to be a wife in name, only to complete the form, but not get love that wasn't leadership, that was emotional manipulation. And this is the center of Kody's collapse. He needed loyalty without feeling emotionally safe. He wanted devotion without giving respect. He demanded their trust, but gave them rules, distance, and silence as a reaction. What type of leader turns love into a transaction? What type of husband leaves the heart of his family? but still desires to sit at the head of the table. It was never about spiritual unity. It was all about power. And once the women started to wake up to that fact, the fall of the so-called patriarch was only a matter of time. Meri was the first. The original, the one who had believed so firmly in the vision of plural marriage that she helped to build it from the ground up brick by emotional brick. But that pride slowly turned to pain as years passed, and Kody's love for her died quietly out long before he ever admitted it out loud. And let's be real, he never really did admit it. Not like a man should not like someone who owes the mother of his child the truth. Instead, he pulled back slowly, coldly, like someone vanishing out of a room and pretending it's okay. There was no argument, no clear-cut point of this is over, just less conversation, less touching, less everything, and Meri, being who she is, grasped on anyway. Then the catfishing scandal. And yes, she was wrong. She made a humongous blunder. She got emotionally involved with somebody who was a man she thought was online, but who was a woman pretending to be somebody else. She was vulnerable. She was alone. She was hungry for attention, for notice, for someone, anyone to look at her. And instead of asking himself why his wife had felt so alone, Kody used that moment to shut the door on her. Once and for all, it was the nail that sealed her fate, and he made sure she knew it. But even then, Meri remained. She went to every family gathering. She kept trying, kept hoping, kept pushing for some small indication that maybe things could go back to the way they were then. And Kody didn't even try to conceal how checked out he was. His interviews became colder, his attitude more condescending. He spoke of their relationship as a friendship, as if she was some sort of distant cousin, and yet she stayed. It's one of the saddest arcs in this whole show, watching someone who embraced the family's values more than anyone else come to slowly understand that the man she married didn't believe in her anymore. Meri gave it all and got nothing back but silence. Christine's story wasn't always about rebellion for years. She was the happy one, the homemaker, the nurturer, the one who toiled the most to make plural marriage appear like a dream and not a slow burn to heartbreak. She brought up her children with patience, kept the family home with homemade meals and warmth, and tried to keep smiling even when Kody started pulling away. But there's only so much one can take before the cracks start showing. And Christine, she hit her breaking point when love ceased being mutual. You could practically see the change happen. It didn't hit her. Suddenly, it cascaded like a slow-burning storm behind her eyes. The turning point, that now infamous question, what does the nanny do? That single line was more than just in reference to childcare. It was the turning point when Christine's eyes opened wide. Robyn, the wife Kody seemed to place above everyone else, had a nanny coming in and out of her home in the middle of a pandemic, while Christine's own kids couldn't even lay eyes on their siblings. The rules suddenly didn't apply to all, and Christine saw it for what it was: clear favoritism. Kody wasn't being careful, he was being selective, and Christine realized she wasn't just unloved, she was being actively overlooked. He told her straight to her face that he wasn't interested in a close marriage anymore. He gave her nothing, no reassurance, no apology, no effort, and still expected her to stay, like she should still play a role in his fantasy family, getting none of the love she deserved. And that's when Christine did something strong. She said no. Her choice to go wasn't spontaneous. It was the culmination of years of disappointment, years of being the backup plan, the spare wife, the silent support behind Kody's preferred storybook picture of plural marriage. But Christine picked herself. Christine picked her children. Christine picked peace. And that moment, that courageous, tearful, crystal-clear choice to leave, was the complete opposite of Meri's long-suffering, where Meri remained quiet. Christine acted where Meri waited. Christine made a move, And it's why Christine's story doesn't end in heartbreak. It begins with freedom. Janelle was always the steady one, the down-to-earth practical wife who didn't rock the boat. She kept the books, worked hard, and raised her kids without drama. She wasn't looking for fairy tales. She needed stability, partnership, and space to be herself. And for a time, Kody loved that about her, until her independence no longer made life easier for him. When Janelle bought that RV and went and lived out on Coyote Pass, it was clear she wasn't doing it for fun. She did it because she was trying to nudge the family plan forward. She was trying to make the land that everybody dreamed about actually livable. She was committed to the dream even when Kody wasn't. But the moment it became inconvenient for him, everything changed. Kody did not want to help her with the RV. He complained about the setup. He challenged her choices. He wanted her to be independent, pulled away coldly, dismissively, as if she were a business partner who'd made a request too large. That's the thing with Kody. His expectations weren't grounded in fairness. They were grounded in control with Meri. He offered no affection, but expected loyalty with Christine. He withheld love, but expected commitment. And with Janelle, he commended her for being strong until her strength was no longer useful to him. Janelle wasn't trying to make a statement. She was trying to survive. She had kids depending on her Gabriel Garrison Savannah. She was putting them first while Kody was making excuses for not visiting because of while still seeing Robyn and her kids. Regularly, Janelle saw the double standard. She lived it, and when she finally started pushing back, when she highlighted how unfair it was that her sons were getting iced out, when Robyn's house had revolving doors, Kody didn't attempt to fix it. He got defensive, he got angry, but Janelle didn't collapse. She didn't beg. She stayed true to her values, and that's what makes her strong in the face of Kody's changing rules and selective concern. She picked her kids, and honestly, that's real love. Robyn always played the role of the sweet one, the emotional, soft-spoken wife who seemed to just want the family to get along. But when you really watch the show, when you really pay attention to who got what, it becomes painfully obvious. Robyn wasn't just another wife. She was the wife, the favored one, the protected one. And honestly, that favoritism tore everything apart. While the rest of the wives were juggling work, kids, and strained relationships with Kody, Robyn lived in a bubble of privilege that she had Kody full time. Her children had their father every single day. And during CO, when the other wives were being asked to quarantine to limit contact, to sacrifice time with their own children, Robyn had a nanny who could come and go as she pleased while the rest of the family was locked out, and Christine asked the question. We were all screaming, "What does the nanny do?" That wasn't a funny one-liner. It was a breaking point. It exposed everything. The rules weren't really about safety. They were about control. And Robyn was never under that control. She was the exception, the one who didn't have to explain herself, the one who didn't have to downsize, who didn't have to live in an RV, who didn't have to watch her children suffer on their own. And then there was the hoarding house, piles of boxes, unopened rooms, absolute mayhem, and Kody still made it a haven while the other wives were scrambling to survive. Robyn was in a home filled with trash, but surrounded by warmth, because Kody made sure she had it. No one else got that sort of attention. Not Meri, not Christine, not even Janelle, who worked behind the scenes to keep things going. Robyn didn't steal Kody. He gave himself to her. He poured everything into that marriage and left the rest of the family to sink. And the worst part, Robyn still cried in every confessional, like she was the victim. But let's get real, when every other wife is drowning, and you're the only one in the lifeboat with Kody, you're not the one who's suffering. You're just the one who benefited from the wreckage. By the end, what we saw on Sister Wives wasn't just the end of a marriage. It was the total collapse of an entire system, one that Kody claimed was founded on love, faith, and unity. but in fact, it was founded on control, inequality, and emotional manipulation, and it all fell apart. You could watch the pieces scatter episode by episode 1. Birthday forgotten here, one child emotionally abandoned. There, Kody used to be the one who made everyone feel remembered, seen. But when his control broke, when his wives would no longer play out the parts he scripted for them, he merely stopped. He ghosted them, ghosted his kids. Like when my Keely told me she did not even get a birthday call. And then there is Gabe, the birthday. Kody claimed he forgot because he was sick with a fever hardly above 99 degrees. That moment said something to us all. It was not about being sick. It was about being somewhere else. The emotional pain. It wasn't subtle. It was loud, painful, and raw, right there in front of the cameras. Christine's tears, Janelle's frustration, Meri's constant hope slowly dying over. The years these weren't dramatic storylines. They were real women living real heartbreak, trying to salvage something that was never fair. To begin with, Kody's version of polygamy only worked when everybody obeyed, when they stayed quiet, didn't question him, didn't push back. But the moment those women stood up, the whole structure collapsed. Christine said, "No more." Janelle picked her independence. The way Kody lived, it only ever served one person, Kody himself. It demanded loyalty, but delivered no safety. It promised family, but delivered isolation. And in the end, all it left behind were broken relationships and children who had to watch their mothers get abused while their father checked out completely. This wasn't just a relationship issue. This was a systemic breakdown, and we watched it happen in real time. So, if you're still with me here, thank you for sticking with the whole truth. No fluff, no lies, just what actually went down on camera. And you're as tired of the gaslighting and double standards as I am. Be sure to smash that subscribe button and follow me right here on TLC Next Reveal. I'm Aria, and we're not done talking. Leave a comment. Let me know what moment hit you the hardest. And stay tuned because this isn't the end of the story. It's just the next reveal.